Welcome to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher, where we take you behind the scenes with peak performers to learn what makes them tick and discover how you can apply their lessons to your life. I'm your host, Molly Fletcher. In the last World Cup final, soccer star Carli Lloyd delivered a legendary performance, scoring 3 goals in the first 16 minutes and capturing the attention of the world. This summer, in her 4th World Cup, Carli captains Team USA in their title defense. She's a 3-time Olympian, 2-time gold medalist, and 2-time FIFA Player of the Year. One of the greatest goal scorers in history. Carli scored the gold medal winning goals in the finals of the 2008 and 2012 Olympics. She's made over 270 appearances for the national team and has scored more than 100 goals. She also plays for her home team, Sky Blue FC, in the NWSL. Off the field, Carli is a role model who empowers fans to never give up on achieving their goals. Her book, When Nobody Was Watching, chronicles her unlikely rise to the top of the soccer world. It would be easy to assume that her success came easily, but there was a time when Carli almost quit the sport. Today, we dig into how she rediscovered her passion and developed the work ethic, competitiveness, and mental toughness that have defined her career ever since. Talk about a game changer. Here's my conversation with Carli Lloyd. So Carli Lloyd, it is so awesome to have you on. You know, our listeners know you as certainly one of the best soccer players in the world. But there was a point in your career where you almost quit. And so let's start there. What was that turning point for you?
Well, it's great to be on. I think that I was a kid who grew up in a small town in Delran, New Jersey. I love soccer. I mean, soccer was literally all I wanted to do every single day. If I could have skipped school every day and played soccer, I would have done it in a heartbeat. And I think, from an early age, I had this talent, but I didn't really know how to use it per se. I didn't really understand the idea of working hard every single day. I didn't have the understanding of, working on your weaknesses and turning them into strengths. And I didn't really accept criticism so well. I was always kind of pointing the finger outward versus looking within myself to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And as I went along and I played club for the Medford Strikers in New Jersey and, played high school. And then I went on to play Rutgers University in New Jersey. And then I was a part of the under 21 national team. I suddenly found myself not really being the focal point and not being the best player on the national team. I suddenly found myself sort of at the bottom, at the cusp of really being the last person to probably make the team. And as I went through, I didn't have the belief, and I looked at all these other players and I thought to myself, man, these players are amazing. I don't really know why I am here. And I got cut from the under 21 team from a coach who was from New Jersey, Chris Petroselli, and I've had loads of conversations with him after the fact, and I have thanked him because he was the first coach in my career who gave it to me straight, who told me that I had all the talent in the world, but I didn't work hard. I didn't show up to training and give it my all, and he left me out of the squad. And that was a huge turning point in my life. And I never had to deal with something like that before. And the easiest thing to do was to just quit. And I was ready to just pack it in, give up everything. My parents were devastated. And that was a major, major turning point in my life.
Mm-hmm. It sure was. And you've credited James Galanos with saving your career. And what was it that he said, Carli, and how did he say it that changed your mind?
Well, it's kind of a funny story of how this all unfolded. James was actually training a goalkeeper on my club team, the Medford Strikers, and he used to watch our games, and he used to see me out there running around. And some games I would be the best player on the pitch, and then other games I would be one of the worst. And he just said to himself, "Man, this girl is going to be another wasted talent." And, he's the type of person who wouldn't poach and wouldn't say, "Hey, you should come train with me," kind of a thing. And some years went by. He was actually training my brother's team. And when I had told my parents I was quitting and I was done, they obviously didn't want to hear that. They had put a lot of time and effort and money into, laying the foundation for me. So my dad, after one of my brother's training sessions, went up to James and said, "Hi, James. We hear you're the best in the business. We need you to help our daughter." And James said, "Who's your daughter?" And my dad said, "Carli Lloyd." And he said, "Oh, okay. I know her." And James gave my dad his business card, and he said, "Here, have Carli call me," which I thought was interesting because usually the trainer or the coach would call the player.
Mm-hmm.
But James wanted to see how I was, dealing with the situation and if I would actually call. And, years I finally have figured out that that was a test in a sense. So it took me about 2 to 3 weeks to give him a call. I remember being at Rutgers and I was, still training with the team. And I didn't know what to do. And I, figured I'd just finish out my collegiate career and that was it. And I'd have to find a job, which was, very frightening. So I remember giving him a call, and he's from Australia. His parents migrated from Greece, so he's got the Greek Australian background. And I remember having such a hard time understanding him and the accent. We chatted for a little bit. I think that he realized how immature I was and the excuses that I had, and just thought to himself, I could really help change this girl's mindset. And I went out for a physical evaluation and a technical evaluation with him. And, it was something about him that I had never had in any other coach growing up. You see, I had the will, I had the passion, I had the dedication, I had the competitiveness, but I didn't know how to use all of that and navigate through this journey.
Mm-hmm.
And James was the first person where I felt like he believed in me. And not only did I feel that, I felt that he could actually change my game. And, I soaked up everything he said and I said, "This is the guy, I've got to listen to everything that he is telling me, soak it up and go along for the journey and see what happens." And that's kind of what I've been doing. And, long story short, the rest is history.
Yeah, well, you've put in the work, and it sounds like he said a lot of the right things and helped give you a tremendous amount of clarity as to how to package all your gifts.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I've got to be the one that goes out to the battlefield and makes it happen. And I think, James laid a foundation. He laid all of these important aspects that are needed to become a professional player, and not only become a professional, but to be at the top, the 1%. What are those things that are going to separate you from everybody else? And I think that that's kind of what he instilled, and I bought into it. And I ultimately was the one who went out and did it. And it's been a great kind of journey that we've had to go through together.
And so if you had to like roll it up into one or two or things that he said or did that you would say that was the moment or that was the thing he said that made me believe again, that made me see the vision that he saw in me again, what would that be?
Oh, I wish it was one or two things. I mean, to narrow it down, I think I was a player who, from the outward looking in, may have looked confident and really believed in myself. But inside, I was actually struggling with the fact that I didn't believe in myself. Everybody else around me believed, other coaches that I played for, my parents, my friends, my family. But I didn't believe that I could do it. I felt like that dream of playing for the women's national team was so out of reach. And when I started working with James, he kind of laid out this plan for me. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You have got to work on your weaknesses. You've got to turn them into strengths. You have to not be afraid to fail, and use those to extract some lessons out of it and turn it into a positive. And everything that he said, I started to believe. I started to believe more in myself, and it was just having that person, that go-to person that you trust and can lean on in tough, challenging times, to help you find that belief within yourself. And that's ultimately, I think, what was the biggest thing. I mean, yes, he changed so many things for me off the field and on the field. But the biggest thing has always been that belief that no matter what has happened throughout my career, whether a coach doesn't believe in me, or whether the coach benches me before the Olympics, or whether I get cut, the one thing that has stayed true is that he has always believed. And I think that has really been so helpful for me.
Sure, it starts with belief for sure. And Carli, the world sees you certainly as such an incredible, obviously athlete, but a clutch player, which you are an incredible clutch player, no question. But at the same time, you've been very open in the past and in your book about struggling with self-criticism and perfectionism, and you've worked through that. How have you worked through that over the years?
Well, I think it's, you practice what you preach. I think that, you can tell yourself anything you want. You can tell yourself you're going to be happy. You can tell yourself you're going to be sad. And what you tell yourself and what you speak to your mind is going to be reality. And I think that because I've had this, self-doubt in myself, I have had to really work at it. But I think my training and outworking every single person that, I know that's playing this sport, has really given me the confidence to believe in myself. And being a perfectionist obviously can be good and bad. I think that I've kind of learned the balance there, that not everything is going to be perfect. My training sessions aren't going to be perfect. My shooting drills and playing sometimes, that all isn't going to be perfect. I mean, life isn't perfect. And I think you have to kind of enjoy the journey and enjoy the ride. And I think as the years have gone on throughout my career, I've gotten better with that. And I would say I went through majority of my career up until 2012 Olympics, when I really didn't believe that I could go on to become the best player in the world. And after being benched before the 2012 Olympics, and then playing 16 minutes into the first game, coming on, scoring the winning goal, and never leaving the field after that, and scoring 2 goals in the final, I said to myself, I can do this. And from that point on, I have had more self-belief in myself than ever before.
You have a mantra, empty the tank. What does that mean to you? Tell me what I love that saying, by the way. What does that mean to you?
Well, I can't claim it up fully because that is James' mantra to me. But that is something that he would always put in his emails. He would write me an email before, he still does, before every major event. And I take that with me. It's on my phone. And before I would print it out because I didn't use my phone overseas too often. But I would read it over and over again. And when he would, kind of sign off, it would always be empty the tank. And every time I spoke to him after a training session, it was never, how many goals did you score? Were you the best player there? It was empty the tank. Did you empty the tank? Did you work harder than everybody else on the field? And that stuck with me. It wasn't about the goals. It wasn't about, the performance. It was training my mind and my body that I had to work hard every single day. And that's kind of been our thing. Empty the tank, no matter what. There's going to be days where I wake up and I don't feel great. Well, I've got to find a way. I've got to find a way to empty that tank. And that's kind of just stuck with me for my career.
That's good. So I had a coach once that said, "Did you leave your guts on the court after matches?" And it was sort of a similar deal, right? But it's saying, did you trust the process and did you give it everything you got? And if you did, then cool.
Exactly. Yep.
There's no question. I said earlier, you're one of the most clutch athletes we've ever seen. And, what is it about big moments that you think kind of brings out the best in you? You love those moments. You want the ball. What is that?
I love those moments. Those moments are, why I wake up at 6 a.m. and, or train at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. I think it's two things. I think that I have always been a competitive person, no matter what I'm doing. And, my brother and sister probably hated that growing up. In fact, I'm sure they did because I had no mercy. It was win at all costs, whether I had to, kick a ball straight into your face, I would do it. And I was as competitive as they come. So I think one, it has to do with that. Two, I think it also has to do with when I met James, we discussed a lot of the greats. We discussed Michael Jordan. We discussed Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali. We discussed all of these greatest players or athletes in their specific sport. And he would tell me, Michael Jordan, he would go out to the court by himself on holidays and he would shoot and shoot and shoot until he got it right. Bruce Lee, same thing. He would do thousands of push-ups and sit-ups. Muhammad Ali, same thing. And it really sparked me and it got my wheels turning. And, I think that really stuck with me because I wanted to be that. I didn't want to just be a player who, played on the national team. Yeah, sure. That's great. It's an honor. But I wanted to be that 1%. I wanted to be the person when it's 0-0 and it's double overtime and somebody needs to score in order to win the game. I wanted to be that person. And so I think for so many years in my career, I visualized that. I read books of all great players. I read articles and I really soaked up the fact that when the team's back is up against the wall and everybody else is crumbling around you, I want the ball. I want it. And, those two things, when you combine those two things in your preparation, those moments are the moments I live for. And I've always been like that. And, I just love it. I live for that.
Well, it shows. And the results are there. There's no doubt. So get me in this moment, right? It's you and the ball. It's a penalty kick for the win. What goes through your head?
Well, I could say in 2011 World Cup final, when I missed, that was a tough moment because I obviously was envisioning hitting that PK. But I must say that I didn't work on PKs enough prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2011, when I missed in the World Cup final, that could have potentially, had I made, maybe things would have went a different way. I said to myself, I will never miss a PK in a major event ever again. And so from that point on, I would take PKs every single day, 5 to 10, line them up, hit them. And again, the visualization of being in that moment. I remember the 2015 World Cup in particular, having 2 PKs that, I had to step up and take. And I was confident. I believed. And I grabbed the ball, especially in the semifinal against Germany in the World Cup. And I placed the ball down And all I was thinking about was the ball is going to go back in the net. Ball is going to go in the back of the net. And I kept telling myself that, and my eyes were focused only on the ball. And I stepped up and hit it. And, when you're called upon in that situation, and when you are the person that has to step up and take a PK shot like that, you best make it. And I told myself, I am not going back to 2011 when I missed. And sure enough, ball goes in the back of the net, and on to the final.
The rest is history. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
In just a minute, we'll get back to the episode. But first, here's a free resource I want to share with you. How many of you are leaving money on the table because of costly negotiation mistakes? Getting the best possible outcome in a negotiation can be a challenge. Most people leave money on the table because they don't know how to navigate the conversation. We get it, and we're here to help. Go to 5negotiationmistakes.com to download our free PDF, 5 Negotiation Mistakes Costing You Money. In this free resource, you will learn how to avoid common mistakes. You discover things like how to identify and adapt to different style negotiators, how to maximize your deal points, how to ask with confidence. Once you read this PDF, you'll no longer feel frustrated and overwhelmed when it's time to negotiate. So here's all you need to do next. Download 5 Negotiation Mistakes Costing You Money. Check it out, read it, review it, and start negotiating like a pro. All you have to do is go to 5negotiationmistakes.com for the free download. That's 5 like the number 5, negotiationmistakes.com. Now back to the conversation. How do you define mental toughness? And how do you strengthen your mental toughness? I mean, I know obviously you do it through practice, right? Through repetition, through belief, but what else?
I think that obviously preparation breeds confidence. And I think it's your outlook on things. I think that you have to be able to tackle an obstacle or a struggle that has come your way, or maybe something hasn't gone your way and you don't understand why, but you've got to just keep telling yourself that there is a reason. Life does have a way of working itself out. But I think there's 2 journeys that you can go on. You can go on the negative approach, or you can go on the positive approach. And I think in order to become mentally tough, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be humble enough to accept failure, or to accept not being perfect all the time, to, really embrace and extract the life lessons that come through failure. I have failed over and over and over again. Training sessions, shooting and doing various things. I mean, I've failed over and over again. And I think that essentially breeds that mental toughness, and being able to overcome adversity, being able to overcome, for example, an injury, in my case, multiple injuries throughout my career, being benched. There's so many things, and it's all in your mindset. If you really believe and you can think in a positive way, you become mentally tough, because no matter what's thrown at you, you're confident enough that you're going to be able to hit it head on. And that's ultimately just what I've done. I've just gone through each and every struggle and obstacle in my life, and haven't been afraid to tackle it head on.
And after a moment like that, recovering fast as an athlete is so key, right? Because there's another opportunity, another moment. And I agree with you, failure is such a wonderful thing. And what do you tell yourself right after a moment that doesn't go exactly how you thought it would go, so that you can quickly reboot and recover quickly and move forward?
Yeah, it's hard, because you want to dwell. You want to dwell on things, and there's often times where you don't have the time to dwell. And I think that I've learned that more so in my career, that things are going to happen. You may not play a perfect game, or you may have a subpar game or a subpar training session, but you move on and you get ready for the next day. And it's all about being better than you were the day before. And I think that has really been a strong suit in my career right now, being able to kind of push things along and worry about the next thing that's up.
Sure. When you think about teammates, Carli, what are the top 3 characteristics you want in a teammate?
I would say hardworking, because I love people that are just going to
Yeah.
grind it out. Respectful. I think that is key. I think that having a huge amount of respect for just everything on and off the field, your respect for your peers, your teammates, your coaches, the support staff, and adaptable. Being able to adjust, to adapt to whatever is thrown your way, being able to roll with it. So I think those three things would be my top choices.
Sure. And you embody all of those, which is totally cool. In your book, you talk a little bit about, and I loved your book, some of the politics and some of the drama that came with competing on the national team. How did you navigate that, right? We have a lot of business listeners, executives, and that happens clearly inside of organizations. How have you navigated that, and how may people that are listening be able to deploy that in the lives that they live in?
Well, I think there's as much drama as you want in your life. I think that there are people who are just drawn to drama. There are people who just go the opposite way from it, and that's me. I don't like to consume my mind or energy in drama, but it's hard. And I think that I have been a different player and person on the national team. I didn't come from a big name school. I wasn't the next big thing that was coming out of college that everybody wanted to sign. I haven't been the cookie cutter type of player that usually plays on the national team. So I've been different from the start, and I like different. I think being different is great. So I've always been this player who wants to focus all my time and energy on my performance. That is the most important thing. But I'll always be there to listen, to support someone. But if there is an issue, if there is some drama going on, or I hear somebody saying, I will go directly to the person. It's uncomfortable, but I've had to do it throughout my career, and I think that now, being older and being a little bit used to that in a sense, I'm more comfortable to do that. Mm-hmm. I think that when there's drama going on and there's people talking and he said, she said, and there's all these different things and everybody's beating around the bush. I think it's so important. Like you tackle a obstacle head on, you tackle an issue head on.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been, that's all I've been doing my entire career. And I think that it's very important, whether you have an issue with somebody, the coaches, or a teammate of yours, or vice versa. I think it's important to just go nip it in the butt and, move on from that situation.
Sure. You want a problem to get really good, you just put it over to the side in a Petri dish, leave it alone. It'll get real good.
Yeah, exactly.
How have you, you get after it, right? How have you managed your energy, right? The mental and emotional aspects in particular as you've evolved in your career. I am sure that has evolved for you, but managing your energy, I would imagine, is an important part of what you have accomplished.
100%. I take things to the extreme where, there's people who think that I don't want friends and family and my husband at my events because I'm superstitious. It's actually the opposite. I don't want to be consuming my mind with making sure that I unconsciously am thinking, are they okay? Are they having fun?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to go see them? I think it's very, very important to have your head clear. And when you're preparing for a major event or anything that's, really, really requires a lot of mental energy, you want to pour every ounce you have into making sure you're focused. So it's challenging. I mean, I'm living this professional life where I've got goals and dreams, but I also have an intertwined life with friends and family and a husband and a house and real life things. So it's like, how do you combine all that? How do you balance it? How do you make sure that you're spending the majority of your time and energy into, focusing on what you need to do? It gets challenging at times. And, I can't say that throughout my career it's been perfect all the time, but I think it's been perfect at the right moments, if that makes sense.
But it sounds like you've been really intentional about the things you allow to happen in those big moments so you can focus.
Exactly. I mean, like we've talked about with the drama. I mean, I don't invite drama, and I'm typically the last person that knows what's going on. Show up to training. I'm supportive of my teammates and coaches, and I want to win. I want to perform. I want to keep improving every single day, and I kind of live in this little bubble that I like, and makes my mind feel good.
I am such a big believer, as I know you are, in what sports can do for girls, for young girls. Think back to young Carli, and how did sports shape you into who you are today?
Oh, sports have done so many things for me. So many priceless things that I would have never gotten out of school. I think from an early age, I was this tomboy who, loved wearing my cutoff jeans with no shirt. I was still pretty young, but I liked to emulate my dad, and he was cutting the grass in his jean shorts. And I've always been that girl that loved playing sports, and I was super athletic. Can play all different sports. I can pick up anything and be pretty good at it. And I think it's just taught me so much. It's taught me to believe in myself. It's taught me to be a strong human being. It's allowed me the platform to be able to inspire so many other girls. And I think that, it's ultimately allowed me to soak in so many different things along the way, meeting different people, traveling the world, getting immersed into different cultures. I think that I've done majority of my growing and maturing because of the sport and because of what it's forced me to do. And I'm so thankful. I mean, I just think sport and being active gives you so much. Obviously, the exercise side of it, but it shapes who you are, and it just gives you that confidence as a person.
I'm a little bit older than you, but and sports has changed, I think, significantly over the last 20 years, and parents' involvement in sports has changed, and the way kids approach sports has changed. What advice would you give parents of young kids who play sports as it relates to the best way to support those kids on the chase that they're on, right? To hopefully become a better person as a byproduct of the sport they play. What advice do you give parents, and also what advice do you give young girls?
Well, I think the advice I would give parents, because I've seen and I've lived through, I think the biggest thing is every parent is focused on their kid becoming the next best thing. And I think the focus needs to change. I think the focus should be not on whether your kid is going to become a professional, but focusing on your kid becoming a better human being, treating your coaches and the teammates with respect, going out there every single day and working hard. Those are the type of things that I think parents need to be instilling. It's not get in the car after a game and, well, how many goals did you score? Did you have any assists? Who didn't play well? It's getting in the car and saying to your kid, hey, did you empty the tank today? Did you work hard? Were you a good teammate? Did you support your teammates? Were you respectful to your coach? I think everybody's kind of missing the boat on this.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I see so many kids who end up quitting because they feel the pressure. And, I think that your kid will navigate through life the way that, they want to go through it. And for me, I never had to be reminded that I have to go to practice. My parents never had to say, Carly, come on, get off the computer, get off the video games. You got to go to practice. I was ready. I was waiting by the door, bag packed. And, I think parents need to focus more on that, making sure instilling the core values for them to become better human beings. And then the advice I would give young girls is never stop believing. Never stop believing in what you can achieve. Work extremely hard every single day. I mean, no matter what you wanted to do in life, you have to work hard. I mean, that sounds cliche, but having the confidence, to play against boys and beat up on the boys.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I love that. I love that growing up. And that is ultimately what has kind of shaped me in my life. And, never stop believing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look back at your career, Carli, what do you want people to say about you?
Oh, I think I would hope that I've inspired people that through hard work and dedication, you can be anything you want. It doesn't matter, how big or small of a town you've come from. It doesn't matter what college you went to. It doesn't matter if you had money growing up or didn't have money growing up. It doesn't matter if everybody doubted you. I think that, I hope that I have inspired so many people on so many walks of life that you really could be great at something, if you believe and if you give it everything you've got. And I haven't followed the crowd. I never will. I have been a black sheep. I have been different. I have done things my way. I think that some people feel threatened by that. I think some people feel intimidated by that. But I don't care because I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be respected.
Nice.
And I think that you can't ever be afraid to be somebody different and to be you. And hopefully that is what I have helped inspire others to do.
We end with rapid fire. So I'm going to fire off some questions to you and you just fire back some answers, girl. You ready?
All right.
One word to describe yourself.
Probably would say relentless.
One word your teammates would use to describe you.
Determined.
An athlete you most admire and why?
Probably going to have to say Tom Brady because he's
That's
just
ridiculous. I know.
There's not much you can say about Brady, but he in those moments he finds a way, and he's never been the ultimate player who everybody thought would get this far, and he's one heck of a fighter and winner in my eyes.
Well, and you position yourself often as a sort of, you love this sort of underdog mentality, right? And Brady was a sixth-round pick, man, 199th pick at the draft, and look at this. He's not supposed to be this good.
Exactly.
Who's a person you would most like to meet?
Well, I would probably say two. So one who isn't living would be JFK. I've had this huge fascination about him, and I don't know why. Always as a kid, I've always been kind of fascinated by his story and the presidency, and so he would be one. And then I would probably have to say Justin Timberlake. I just think he's awesome, and haven't ever met him.
Well, that shouldn't be hard. We need to set that up. One thing on your bucket list.
Oh, I've got a lot. Well, I'll do a few. First thing would probably be I want to backpack Europe with my husband. Not necessarily backpack because I would need a suitcase, but I think kind of retraveling the world, going to places that I want to go would be really cool. Another one, because I do things to the extreme where I don't want to participate in anything that is going to potentially injure me. I have skied my whole life, and the last time I went skiing was in 2005, I must say. I am itching to go skiing, especially my husband. So that would be another one. And just, four-wheeling and all the things that I just really haven't been able to do because
Yeah.
I don't want to risk injury.
Sure. What's your most memorable career moment?
Uh, I think it would be too easy to say, 2015 World Cup.
Right.
While that is an unbelievable moment thus far, I'm going to have to say my journey, everything, the ups, the downs, because without all of that, it wouldn't be my story. And hopefully maybe there's a moment that's coming in the near future that I can
maybe in France this
use
summer.
as my use as my next answer. Next time.
Awesome. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh boy, probably to kick myself in the butt a little bit more, work harder, and be fit. I didn't understand the importance of being physically fit. Accept criticism, embrace the journey, and use my weaknesses and turn them into strengths and not be afraid to do that.
Mm-hmm. So the show is called Game Changers. So just one last question. What game changer inspires you and why?
Guess it would be too obvious to say Tom Brady again. Huh?
I was about to say.
All the Eagles fans are going to be hating me. It's hard to pinpoint one.
Yeah.
I've always gone to the underdog story, to the person and player that everybody's counting out. That's ultimately the stories I love hearing. And while, Tom Brady isn't necessarily, an underdog per se on the Patriots, poor guy, man, everybody says stuff about him every single year. And
Sure.
he just keeps fighting back and coming back. But there's been loads. I mean, there's, LeBron James when he's in his flow. There's tons. It'd probably be impossible to name.
Yeah. But underdog athletes, right, that have put in the work is what I'm hearing you say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you. Exactly.
Like you. So, girl, you got to kick some, in the Women's World Cup this summer. We're cheering for you in France.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully come home with that trophy.
There you go. Well, you're pretty good at that. Hey, thank you for what you do for young girls. Super grateful for that and for the success that you've had and the model that you set for so many of us, be it in business or in sports. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, as always, for listening to Game Changers with Molly Fletcher. Next episode, Sean Eskinosi shares his incredible story of why he left his successful career as a criminal defense lawyer to start a chocolate company. Yes, you heard me right. We talk about his new book, Meaningful Work, the quest to do great business, find your calling, and feed your soul. If you're searching for more meaning in your work or contemplating a career pivot, this one's for you. If you like the show, be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts. There you can listen to previous episodes and leave us a review, which helps other people find out about the show. For more about me, visit mollyfletcher.com. Until next time, stay curious and be bold.